I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713, 21, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and high, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, Loaded Mag NUFC. It wasn't a planned show tonight. However, we've got some news to discuss, boys. But look, welcome everyone in the chat. Welcome everyone that's piling in. Make sure you click that like and all that good stuff. Subscribe. But guys, Chris, how are you before we get into what is going to be, I think, a difficult topic?
How am I? Busy day, but I'm going to use my how am I to tell Claire Simpson, Claire, you really need to get rid of that calendar. Take the calendar down and put it in the bin because you predicted this there. I remember in the show last week. So she did, yeah.
And I asked you, Claire, who's May? That's what I want to know. Who's May?
I don't want to know.
No, I'm more worried about who's August, September, October, November, December. That's why we need to get rid of that calendar.
I forgot about that.
How are you, Chris?
Oh, mate, I'm not even going to get into it. I've had a pretty stressful evening, I'm not going to lie. But really glad to be on with you boys and looking forward to the show. I'm currently sat in Stamford Bridge again, from the Stamford Bridge Hotel, the Millennium. So that's where I am this evening. Hectic day, but yeah, really looking forward to talking. Well, I say I'm really looking forward to it. Am I really looking forward to it? I don't know, but I always enjoy being on with you boys and obviously seeing everyone in the chat as well. Pete, how are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, been a really busy day and busy last hour or so. But look, other than that, I'm okay. However, I'm annoyed. I'm so annoyed. I'm not even going to lie. This news has rocked me, to be honest. I'm pissed off for many a reason. And we might as well just get into it. We've all seen it now. If you've been living under a rock or you've not followed it on socials, here it is. Newcastle have confirmed that Sven Botman will undergo surgery next week after suffering a knee injury against Man City. And they've said that the injury is likely to keep him out, the ACL injury, I should add, around 6 to 9 months. There's a lot to unpack here, boys. But I just want to get your initial thoughts as it broke, as you found out about it. What have you made of this all? Because as I've just said, I am absolutely pissed off.
This could turn into a bit of a rant because the calm approach first is I agree 100% with what Chris said in our chat earlier that it's good. It's better that it's getting sorted now and that then we have the hope of getting them back for the start of the season, but that could stretch into a couple of months into the season. Then you go down the avenue of the obvious thing where it happened at Brentford and he played on for 2 games after that, and then who's making the decisions on a lot of things really? Who's making the decisions? It was said that Botman himself made the decision to play on or to not go for surgery, and then this reoccurs again. But overall, who's making the decisions? Is it? is it Eddie Howe that has having a massive say in a lot of things? And I'm starting to question things now. I think Eddie Howe he's started to use up the credit, and I'm not blaming Eddie Howe for everything. It's the medical team, but there's so many. Isn't the people from the medical team that came from Bournemouth as well? Who's making the decisions? All these contacts and people and linked players, and possibly into the summer are coming from Bournemouth. The world is bigger than Bournemouth. Newcastle with PIF ownership, I was expecting that the world is our oyster. Okay, there are restrictions in place, but we can hire the best of the best medical team in the world. That's what we should be doing. Like there's too many things gone wrong this season, and too many things that looks like they'll go wrong again. In May, according to Claire's calendar, and into next season, like we have to be the most professional outfit we can be, and I want to see more signs of that now. It's okay. It was great at the start. Everything was rosy, but there's a time for being nice and there's a time for being ruthless. And I think we're getting to the stage. We've been calling it for a while. Things need to happen. People need to get ruthless, and the decisions need to be made, and putting the correct people in positions to make those decisions as well. If like I imagine, I thought with PIF coming in that they wanted this club. Okay, maybe not instant success, but they have 2030 in mind, I'm sure, to be Newcastle to be top of the tree and in everything. That's possible. So to get there, you need to start putting in people in the right places, and someone that can make the big decisions and the big calls. So okay, I'm going off on a tangent, and it's one player being injured and needed an operation, but there's a collection of things there that are leading us to this space. So I want to see some action now in the next little while. And if the decision is to stick with what we have, then but someone needs to be held accountable as we go forward.
I don't think you're wrong in what you've said, Daz. I don't think you've gone off in a tangent. I think a lot of this is starting to come together with this. I know you mentioned it was just one injury. I think it's more than that, and I think what you've mentioned already, I think is more than reasonable. And like I say, it's not going off on a tangent for me. But Chris, your opinion? What were your initial thoughts when this news came out with regards to Botman? Now we've had a couple of hours to kind of process it. Like, where you at this point? Because I like I said, I'm so mad. I'm raging at this situation.
I mean, I'll try and give a balance for you, because I think it's fair. I like how you've asked me what my initial thought was, because I'll be deadly honest. My initial thought was a little bit of relief, if I'm honest, and the reason for that is because for the past few weeks, not just myself, but I think a lot of Newcastle fans have all been going, "What is wrong with Botman? Like this doesn't look like the same Sven Botman." So when I say relief, I'm obviously not happy he's out for 6 to 9 months, but I am a little bit like, right, now this makes sense. I'll get on to how I'm feeling now, and obviously having, digested it all a little bit more. But my initial thoughts were, okay, well, this makes sense as to why Sven Botman doesn't look himself. I think it was clear and obvious, not just to Newcastle fans, but probably to his teammates, probably to the coaching staff, that something wasn't quite right. I also, now I've had a little bit of time to think about it, I believe the statement came out and said that he picked up an injury against Man City. I kind of question that now, especially given the rumours that we're hearing about Sean Longstaff having regular injections to play when he too is really not playing very well. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is, initially I was relieved, because I thought, right, well, this explains the poor form, and also, let's be honest, sometimes you've got to take a little bit of pain to get gain, and I'm thinking I would rather a fully fit, full firing Sven Botman come back in 9 months' time, than play with the existing Sven Botman, who isn't quite right, could be causing further damage to himself, which seemingly has happened, and something really, really bad happening, in terms of a career-threatening injury or something like that. But now that I've, as I say, I've kind of digested it a little bit and settled and thought on it, I'm just really disappointed and deeply concerned, if I'm honest, about what is happening behind the scenes at the club. I mean, we've noticed, haven't we, boys, over the last 6-12 months? I don't want to put a time or a date on it as such because I'm not fully on board with it, but I noticed that there've been a few departures in the medical staff, and then we brought in new medical staff. So it all kind of feels a little bit all over the place, if I'm honest. And this further backs up the fact that we've had one of the worst injury-ridden seasons that we've had in recent years. I can't actually remember it being this bad. And this is just like the cherry on the cake. I mean, as it happens, you know, we're currently, I think, are we 11th at the moment, or 12th? Is it something like that in the league? So, I mean, if we were in the top 3 or something, God forbid, this would be a real hammer blow. So I'm kind of happy that, you know, we're not chasing Champions League or we're not sitting in a Champions League position, and this is really, really bad. I know that sounds terrible, but I know a lot of fans have kind of written the season off. I'm not quite there yet, but I have come to the acceptance that we're not going to be getting top tier European football. There's still a very slim outside chance of Europa football, but chances are, Europa League football, but chances are it will probably be Europa Conference if we can manage to scrape it over the line. But in terms of Sven's injury, like, I'm questioning the staff now. I'm questioning the backroom staff, and no doubt, I think the owners, and I think also, you know, the officials, you know, higher up, you know, the likes of Darren Eales and the coaching staff, everybody is going to, I think, I think there's going to be a big autopsy at the end of the season, because I think something needs properly investigating, properly looking into, because there's something not right behind the scenes. And the fact that Sven Botman is now out for 6 to 9 months, you know, having surgery on an injury that should have been identified by the sounds of things weeks, months ago, is worrying. It's very, very worrying.
I was hoping that you two would calm me down, and it's not right. It's not right. I'm still pissed off, and I'm pissed off for a number of reasons, lads. I'm not going to lie. I'm pissed off that it's taken this long for this decision to be made. I know they mentioned that he's re-injured it again. I'm not convinced.
No, I'm not
convinced.
I'm not.
That there was an injury there. When the news came out, my initial thought was, and I could be completely wrong with this, my initial thought was they've tried to see him over the line this season because we still had things to fight for. FA Cup, European football, all the rest of it. And I think going out in the quarterfinals has maybe made Newcastle's mind up, Botman and Eddie Howe's mind up to say, right, we're out of a cup competition. We're not going to win the trophy this season. We've probably got enough to get through the rest of the season and potentially get Europe. Go and have your surgery now. Go and get it done now, rather than go and get it done in the summer and then be out until 2025. Go get it done now. And I think that if that is the case, that's an acknowledgement that they made the wrong decision way back when. Now, people in
why
pull
the wool over the fans' eyes though, Pete? Why even attempt to do that? I mean, I know it would seem as defeatist. I get that, but to try and, you know, try not maybe cons are harsh words, but to try and mislead the fans is pretty poor, because that's certainly how it feels. I don't believe that Man City thing, like you've just said. Don't believe it. Sorry, carry on, mate.
There's too much has happened that makes it very, very difficult for me to sort of believe that, if I'm honest with you. And it goes all the way back to September. For me, I think there's an acknowledgement. I think there's been an acknowledgement now, probably in the club for a few weeks now, that they made the wrong decision. And I think they knew surgery was coming at some point, which is part of the reason why after the Arsenal game, they took him out of the team. I think they were aware that he couldn't play the amount of football that he was being exposed to. So there's a lot of things going on back then. A lot of people have said on socials, a few people have said in the chat about, you know, the fact that Sven Botman made the decision. And I think Keith Downey has touched on this with his tweet earlier. A couple of things noted about Botman. Understand the club were happy for him to have the surgery, but Botman himself decided to rest instead, wanted to get back and help the team ASAP. That's fine to a point. He and the club taking the advice for multiple specialists, blah, 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 blah. And that's okay. I'm not going to go through the rest of it. It's there for people to read. People have probably already seen it as well. The issue that I have with that is that a player is always going to say, I want to play. I want to get back. I want to be involved.
Exactly.
Botman in his mind wants to get back in. Why? Because he's playing in the Champions League season. At that point, he wants to get back and play Champions League for Newcastle United. Completely understand it. In the back of his mind, he's going, I want to make the Euros. I want to get to the Euros. I want to play playing for Holland at the Euros in the summer. And so he's always going to have that mindset. But I'm sorry, the physio team have to, and even the specialists to a point, have to put the player's long-term future first.
Duty of care, please. Duty of care.
Everybody knows you cannot mess around with ACLs. You cannot. They are career enders. They are career enders. And even if a player gets back to playing football, they might not be the same after that. So you can't play around with that. If you've got an ACL, the best method for that is always to get it repaired and make sure that you're 100% back ready to play again. You only have to look at Callum Wilson. He's done it on both knees. And look, he's in his 30s. Okay, he's getting other injuries, but he's never had a knee problem since with either of his knees once he's had surgery. And I just think at that point, there needs to be a decision made from the club and not be based on the player and what the player wants at that. It's about the duty of care for the long-term future of the player. And this doesn't surprise me that this happened now. And a lot of people speculated at the time, and it's this. When this came about, that the head physio, Danny Murphy, left the club, I think that was in 31st of December. People were like, what's this all about? Now this here makes more sense to me, because I think internally, and we'll never know. We're just fans, okay? We will never know the ins and outs, but I wouldn't be surprised that internally a decision was made that they've quickly realized was a bad decision. And it wasn't just, and this is not just Sven Botman. I think there's a number of these players. You could probably go back to Joe Willock. Joe Willock comes back from an Achilles injury. Forget the 5 months he had out for a hamstring. He comes back, does his Achilles, comes back, plays 2 or 3 games, does his Achilles again. Something's not right there.
Look at Murphy with the shoulder piece.
Exactly.
I know it's not related, but he come back and then within, was it 12, 15 minutes, it's gone again. So why is he on the pitch? Why is he there?
It's related, Chris, with what you just said before, a duty of care to the players, making the right decision for the players. And this is why I'm so angry, because this was the season. Boys, we went through it when we had Hatem Ben Arfa, Johan Cabaye, and we got 5th in the table, and we said, right, let's kick on. And we didn't. Why? Because we didn't invest. Okay, and we kept the way it was. So it was slightly different in that sense. But we had an opportunity this season to really kick on. Okay, everybody gets injuries. Nobody's had injuries like us. But I tell you what, we could have had these injuries managed better, a hell of a lot better, and had some of these players back fit and firing a lot quicker. Okay, and a lot more effectively at this end of the season. To give us a better hope of ending the season with some of these players in the squad. And it hasn't happened, and serious questions have to be asked. I have never, in my 30-plus years supporting this club, seen an injury crisis like this. And when it happens like this, you have to start asking the question, why? Why is this happening to so many different players, not just 1 or 2, so many different players over the course of one season? And I'm not talking about hamstring 2 weeks, a pulled calf 3 weeks that some players have got. I'm talking about Sven Botman, nearly 10 weeks resting an ACL. I'm talking about a 3 months desiccated shoulder. And you mentioned it as well, Chris, coming back too early. I'm talking about a Nick Pope dislocated shoulder. And maybe some of these, maybe people are saying, these are just by chance. All of these can't all be by chance. They
Not
can't
all.
be. You've got the two long-term back injuries. Like there's just too many of these massive injuries that are massively long-term, and you just got to think to yourself, something's not right here. Is it the training methods? Is it the way that the physios are looking after the players in recovery, in between games, where they're not recovering as well as they could be? I'm throwing out questions here because I don't know, but I'm looking at this and I'm thinking something's not right. And this is why I'm so angry about this situation. So go back to the point that I was going to make a minute ago, is that we had an opportunity to really kick on this season. I'm looking at Chelsea, who are poor. I'm looking at Brighton, massively inconsistent. Wolves have come out of nowhere and are well in the race right now. West Ham have been inconsistent and not doing great. Man United have been inconsistent, not doing great. Tottenham have been up and down. Villa have had up and down moments recently. This was a season to back what we'd already done. And that's with some of these bad results in there. It wouldn't have taken a lot to put us back up there, and we're just not. And I'm just so angry and frustrated about it all.
Just one thing. I know you put up the picture of the physio, Danny Murphy. Now, we can't pinpoint anything on one individual. So in case the lawyers are on the phone tomorrow, we're not throwing Danny Murphy under the bus. But yeah, you can put two and two together as well.
I think we're just saying, aren't we, Daz? Something's not right, and that's not, like you rightly say, not pointing at Danny Murphy or anyone in particular. It's just saying that something behind the scenes is not right. I think that's clear and obvious because, to use a VAR expression, I think it's clear and obvious that there is something not right behind the scenes. And Pete rightly says, yes, you can be unfortunate. You can pick up a couple of nasty injuries or, a couple of unfortunate injuries, but you can't have this many. And then, it then, especially with Sven Botman, it links to the fact that everybody over the past 2, 3, 4 weeks has been going, what's wrong with Botman? Why is Botman not looking right? Botman doesn't look right, or Botman didn't play well, or Botman doesn't look comfortable. Botman's not spraying the ball. And then Botman, and then as soon as we get knocked out of the FA Cup, oh yeah, Botman needs the surgery. He's going to be out for 9 months. And then it's like, hang on.
Can I go down another angle? And it's a ridiculous angle, but just let's play it out for a second, okay? Right. I saw something on Twitter, and it's stupid, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Right. The reason we're in this position is because we couldn't invest as much as we want to invest in the squad in the summer because of FFP, PSR. We'll be in the same position this summer coming as well, by the way. And with the extra games, the workload, and Eddie Howe not wanting to rotate as much either, but that's another point. But with the points deductions from certain teams this season, Everton, Notts Forest, and so on and so forth, would we just could we just go mad and just say fuck it and buy a whole lot of players and take a big hit? It would be a big hit, but we'd be in a better position the season after that to then go for it. Now, I did say it was stupid, but there's still if we can't play by the rules, then we might have to look outside them and to get an advantage here, somewhat, to level the playing field. It's not even to get an advantage, to level the playing field a bit. Thoughts on that stupid suggestion?
Do you want to go, Pete? Do you want to go? I mean, I know my thoughts on it, but do you want to go first, Pete?
Go for it, mate. No, go for it.
No, I mean, for me, the biggest, I mean, I'm saying it's not stupid. I mean, some people will say it's stupid. I mean, the thought did cross my mind, I've got to be honest, when Forest were given 4 points. And then I think in the Everton statement, they were told, the statement regarding Everton, we were told that the minimum is 6 points. And then a few weeks later, Forest get 4 points, which is a bit weird. For me, I think, and do you know what, I'll start saying what I'm going to say and then I'll continue. But I think we don't want to be the club that sets the precedent. I think we don't want to be the ones that rock the boat. And the reason I say that is because, as we've known since day one, since we got this takeover, takeover from PIF, I think all eyes are on us. I think if we were the ones who broke the seal, then we would get the famous, hardest, most, ridiculous points deduction fine. It just wouldn't surprise me if they made an example of Newcastle. It equally does what you're suggesting. It wouldn't surprise me if other clubs did that. You can argue, I'm saying you can, you could argue that's what Chelsea have already done, because Chelsea are going to have to balance the books. And if those books aren't balanced within the next year, 2 years, they're going to be in trouble. They've got to sell to try and balance those books. And obviously they've got loads of, they've got like a loan farm, haven't they? So I'm sure they'll be able to recoup a lot of money. If they get rid of the likes of Conor Gallagher, etc. But I'm going down a rabbit hole there. So for me, I think Newcastle don't want to be the ones that break the seal. And another example of me saying that is the Saudi loan market. I think Jimmy in the chat mentioned it. That's why we haven't gone big on the Saudi market in terms of selling or loans, because I think we're just trying to wait until the floodgates open, and then we'll rustle through in with everybody else. But we don't want to be the ones that break the gate down, because if we are, we're going to be the ones getting pointed at, and we're going to be the ones who are, it's Newcastle, they're cheating. Whereas if everybody else is doing it, we'll be like, oh no, we're just doing what everybody else is doing. We've seen already, the likes of Liverpool taking advantage, through Henderson, through Fabinho, through Firmino. They picked up a few quid and basically bought themselves a brand new midfield. No one ever talks about that, but that's exactly what they've done. But if we were the ones to have done that, I think, and it's the same with the loan market. If we went and got Neves, if we went and got, whoever we wanted, people would go, oh, Newcastle are cheating. It's because they've got the same owners. I feel like we're just waiting. We're sitting by, waiting for the explosion to happen, because it will. It's not just us in this position. There's other clubs. It will happen, and then we'll just tail in through the back door with everybody else. That's what I think we're waiting for.
No, that's fine. So we're still in nice mode then. We're still playing nice. So. We're not gone completely villain. Not yet.
Not yet. And also, don't forget, Daz, sorry, Pete, if I'm stealing your thunder here, but don't forget, with this whole European Super League, which refuses to go away, don't forget we're not part of that yet. We're not the bad guys. The bad guys are the top six. We don't want to then ruin our status as, oh, we're still nice. We're still, playing by the rules. We're not going to Saudi for loans or signing players or selling players for like huge sums. We've come in, we're doing everything respectably, everything well. But you can see it feels to me like everyone's at the starting line and we're all waiting to go. And everyone's going, are you going? Or I'll go when you go. That's how it feels like. But Newcastle will never go first. We'll never, in my opinion, break that seal until another club does it. And as soon as the gates open, we're going to bomb through it. And I'm hoping that this summer, everyone's going to go Saudi, or Saudi going to start buying everyone. And then we'll go, ooh, we'll have that. We'll do this. We'll do that. And no one can point the finger because it will already have happened.
Yeah, no, I just said I'd bring it up because I saw it where I said, yeah, I wonder, is it something that's on in the playbook, but well down the list? Press that button and just say, fuck it.
What do you think, Pete?
I think, honestly, I think we've been Mr. Nice Guys last summer and in January. I think this summer we go do what we want. I genuinely do. We've already talked about it in the summer. Links with Wilson, Miggy again to Saudi. A potential move for some of those players. I think it's time to say, yeah, let's get those deals done. We're not. If rumours are to be believed, and Ben Jacobs reported it, there was agreed fee for Miggy to a Saudi club, although he didn't take it at that particular time. That fee was rumoured to be around 30 million. I'm sorry, but no one in Europe pays that sort of money for Miguel Almiron. They don't. So if we want to maximise our the value of our player, I think he has to go to Saudi. I think it's the same with Callum Wilson. I think a Callum Wilson with a year left on his contract, you could probably get anywhere between 25 and 27 million for him. And that's only because he's not played any football recently and probably won't until the back end of the season. You probably get a little bit more if he'd have played regularly and scored goals. However, in Europe, you're probably getting 20 million for him. So you're losing out on the value of him for that reason. And I think Newcastle United this season more than ever needs to maximise on that and get as much money as they possibly can. And I think this needs to be the season that they do that. I really do. They've had the first year where they've let Chelsea and Liverpool and all those other teams around us benefit from Saudi and get loads and loads of money. And Chelsea especially, Liverpool weren't too far behind in the value that they got for some of their players, likes of Fabinho and the rest. I think now is the time that they absolutely go all in and go, yeah, we're going to do some deals with Saudi. And I really do think it needs to happen. And I feel like it will. I think this is the season of the summer of change for me. I really do think it is. I saw that tweet, and there's a few people mentioned it, Daz, and talked about it when it came out. I think the Premier League have backed themselves into a corner here with the points deduction that they've given to Forest, with the amount of additional money that they've spent, and the situation around it, because I don't think they will have grounds to give another team a huge amount of points deductions. I don't think they will. I think it'll be a maximum of 6 because of what they did with Everton. 6 points. Now, if you're spending 200-300 million and you're completely revamping your squad in one summer, are you going to build a squad that is in a position to maybe still lose 6 points and still be in a quite strong position? Maybe.
It would be.
It could be worth it.
You've done something wrong if you're not.
Yeah, exactly. You've massively made a mistake, and I think the Saudis would heavily back the club in terms of expenditures, and teams like Forest have done it. Forest in the season before we finished 4th spent more money than we did. Like they spent over 200 million. They went mad, and then they went mad again in the summer as well. So they've not held back. They've not held back at all, and they needed to do it to stay in the Premier League. And other teams have tried to do it. Everton did it before. Other teams have tried to do it and failed. Chelsea have done it, and like you said, someone put in the chat actually, and I can't remember who. Slightly, I'm at the bottom, but slightly further up. Chelsea need to apparently recoup 200 million by June the 30th. So they have to sell, and this is the thing. Like all the discussion around Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher apparently is asking for too much money, and they're saying you need to lower your wage demands or we sell you. Like Chelsea are literally giving that ultimatum out. I think some other players will leave. Some players that are not playing regular for Chelsea, they'll try and maximise and sell and get rid of. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Levi Colwell is one that moves on. A centre back, a left-sided centre back, should we add? And maybe we'll get into that discussion later on down the line. I think he will be in the mix to be sold to get a quick cash in. Conor Gallagher, one. I think players like Ben Chilwell will be on the chopping block to try and raise money. Again, another position that we might be looking at. Whether we get him, whether we'd want him or not is a different thing. But they're looking at making a quick buck now.
Look what they did. Look what they did with Brozier, Pete. Exactly the same. He's gone to Fulham. They wanted I think they wanted 40 million, and then everyone must have laughed and gone, "Nah, mate, not going to happen." Then they wanted a loan fee of like 8 million, and everyone was like, "Nah." And then in the end, I think they give him for free. They give him away for free on loan, probably in the hope that he does half decent, and then they'll buy him. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, Man United are desperate. They're trying to cash out on some of their players. They've been trying to flog Casemiro to Saudi for the last 4 months. Varane as well. Like they want to get rid of their big wage hitters because they know they're not close to it, but they're close enough. They need to seriously get rid of some of their big earners in the summer to be able to generate the justification to go and buy some players, and so we're all in a similar boat here. I don't think Newcastle are wrong for wanting to do that, and I think, look, are Newcastle United going to go all out and then take a 6-point hit? No, they're not going to do that. They're not going
I'd
to.
be worth it for 6 points. If you told me that everyone in the chat would agree that you could spend 400 million, 500 million, and just for a 6 points hit, we'd take it. But as Chris said, you know, it'd be the punishment on us because it's us and because it's 1 million over thing. It would be astronomical.
Maybe, but I think legally, I think we'll be in just a stronger position like Man City would, and I think the Premier League will be scared to come up against us because of the reasons why we got the takeover in the first place. I don't think the Premier League would want to go into another legal battle with Newcastle United, but I think Newcastle United and our owners would 100% be more than happy to go into a legal battle with them to justify their point, and it will be long and it will be drawn out. And I genuinely think Newcastle would win if they went to give us any more than the 6 points that they've given Everton or more than the 4 points that they're giving Forest. I think they would have more than enough grounds to absolutely hammer them down 100%. But like you said, it's not likely to happen.
Yeah.
But
So in summary, we're saying hang fire for now. Let someone else do the dirty work first and to challenge things, and then we ride in on the coattails there and go mental and spend.
I think as Pete says as well, Daz, it's on the cusp. It's going to happen. I mean, Man United, you know, Pete mentioned Casemiro and Varane. Like it's clear that Eric Ten Hag does not want Varane. I think Dan United, Pete, I'm sure he'll back me up when I say this, or hopefully he will. Varane's probably their best centre back, but he doesn't play, and I think that they're already planning for the future without him. And because Varane, I've just been talking to someone in the chat then, because Varane is a name, Casemiro is a name. If they went to Saudi, it raises the profile of Saudi, and not to mention, we've seen it with Fabinho. We'll probably see it with Salah. But St. Maximin, players like that are going to raise the profile of the Saudi League, and they're going to pay overinflated prices that they will not get in Europe. And if Man United recoup something stupid like, I don't know, 80 million for Varane and Casemiro together, then Man United all of a sudden have got a nice little pot there to then go and rejuvenate their squad. And they've moved on an aging player who's on huge wage. Like, I think Casemiro's on over 300 grand a week. And he everyone's talking this season saying his legs have gone. But why not go to Saudi League, see out the remainder of your career, probably get a wage rise, and then you also balance the books for Man United, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's like, brilliant, that'll do. There's the money pumped in. We're not worried about FFP. And as soon as Man United or other clubs start doing it, that's when I think we'll take advantage. The only problem that we've got, and the only thing that offsets us from the likes of Man United, the likes of Liverpool, etc., is that the players that Saudi may be interested in, if we're not talking about Miggy and Wilson, are players like Bruno, players like Isak, players like Botman, the ones we don't want to lose. Because people are going, oh, you've got to lose players to progress, you've got to lose players to kind of reinvest. But the difference is these other clubs are wanting to move those players on, whereas we're wanting to move our players on, but they need to be moved on. Whereas, you know, Man United would be fine if they kept Casemiro and Varane, because the top quality players. Are they on their way out? Yes, but if they played them in the starting 11, they would be more than comfortable in the Premier League. Whereas with our players like Miggy Almiron, we want to move them on because we don't want them. Whereas the players that they might be interested in, they're the ones we don't want to lose. So that's the catch-22 that we're in at the minute.
And that's Yano makes a good point here about, he says that breaking Premier League rules is not the issue. If we do not operate within UEFA, we will not be allowed to compete in European competitions. So spending extra money will be pointless.
Yeah, so the new rules for the Premier League, I think it's you can spend up to your revenue of 85%. But UEFA's at the moment, I think it's between 70 and 75% at this moment in time. So UEFA's is already lower. than the Premier League's will be when the new rules come in. And I think they want to lower that to 70 or 65, something like that, at some point. So it's going to be harder for some of these top teams to get away with it. Someone like Chelsea, like they will struggle if they get European football this season, next season. They quite easily could struggle. So yeah, there's that issue as well. But like I said, I don't think Newcastle will go for it. But I think if they felt hard done by, and as we've said, another team comes in, I think then they'd make that decision. Yeah, in Europe, 75 at this moment, UEFA. And I think someone put in the chat earlier that Saudi are looking at reining things in. I don't think they'll rein it in this summer. I do think they'll still spend again, but I think eventually they will rein it in because they want to play in the Champions League. They're vying for a spot in the Champions League. I think they want to enter a couple of teams to enter our Champions League. There's been talks about it for a while, and I think eventually they will get a Champions League spot. And I think they'll in order to get the Champions League spot, they're going to have to conform to what UEFA want. And I think that will happen at some point. But the Saudi need to justify their position in the Champions League by getting in players of a certain ilk to be able to compete. That's the key. That's what they need to do. And so that's why I do think they'll look to spend again. Players like Mo Salah, for example, Liverpool, that'll be an interesting situation. He's got 1 year left on his contract in this summer, already rumored to have big bids for him, and Saudi are looking at coming at him again. If he moves for say 100 million, that just opens up the market all over again for more Saudi players to go over and play in Saudi. So it's going to be a really interesting situation, but we need to come back to this point: is that we have lost Sven Botman until at the minimum sort of September, October, but could well be until 2025, and that is absolutely massive for us because he's been such a colossal player last season and up until his initial injury this season as well. And that brings me kind of to what we discussed previously, and I wanted to bring this up again if I can. 1 second. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up because I think it's quite relevant now in terms of what we were looking at. So this was what we had during squad game.
Here we go again.
Yes. So I mean, we're coming back to this position now because Sven Botman is out. Okay, so I'll just put him to the side for a minute here. I'll just put him out the way, and we're now left with very much a situation that's going to see us out of the season with Shaw and Lascelles taking us forward with the likes of maybe Dan Burns sitting in. Paul Dummett will come into that conversation somewhere, shape or form. But the question I've got for you boys is, are we now looking at 2 centre-backs this summer?
We are, if you want to go mental and blow FFP and PSR, but not otherwise, no. We're looking at that centre-back that can play in either position. And we go with Char, Lascelles, that new centre back who would eventually be Char's replacement as well. This is the type of player who it'd be very difficult to find someone that ticks all these boxes, by the way. And we're also having, which we don't want, but we're also having in the mix a Dan Burn as an option. I don't want him in there. I even saw someone up on the Twitter that give Dummett another year. But
please no.
But yeah, so I think it's just the one centre back we'll go after, but it's they'll be called upon straight away.
What do you think, Chris? Do you think one centre back will be enough to go into next season, or do you think we need 2?
Absolutely, we need 2. We need 2. I mean, really, you could argue, Pete, and we were kind of discussing it as Daz has just alluded to there. We were arguing, not arguing, but we were deep in discussion when we did squad games, saying, "Oh, I think it was me that brought it up." I said, "Oh, Dan Burn," and you boys rightly pointed out, Dan Burn's not been great when he's played centre back. So and that was on the assumption we had one, and now that we haven't got Sven Botman, it's like, well, now. You could argue we need a left centre back and a right centre back. Yes, you could look into the development, the youth team. You could, but that's a massive risk, especially if you where Newcastle are at the moment and wanting to challenge and wanting to be near the top of the league. Like you can't rely on kids and hope and pray that Dan Burn's going to kind of see you through and he won't get injured, because if you're basing it on this season, bloody hell, you want 8 centre backs. The way this season's gone, do you know what I mean? We can't have another season like this season. And I tell you what, maybe this is me being a bit shooting from the hip. I don't want another season next season where we having the same conversation that we've had this season about a number 6 or the lack of options in centre midfield. You'll remember the other January when we sold Chris Wood and we sold John Joe Shelvey, and the John Joe Shelvey one, I think, happened really last minute. And we were going, wouldn't it be great if we could get another central midfielder in? And then we sold John Joe Shelvey, and it was like, hang on a minute, now we need 2 central midfielders. So if we learn our lesson with the number 6, or we learn our lesson in the centre midfield, I don't want to be having this conversation this time next year talking about the centre back position, because the alarm bells will be going off. And you boys will remember from January just gone, when I said that I had grave concerns over the backing of Eddie Howe and the fact that the squad had been left short. If we go into the new season with 1 new centre-back and then that'll leave us with those 4, I'm not going to be happy at all. We can't go into the new season with just them 4. We just can't. Because let's be honest, I'm going to be frank now. Jamal Lascelles needed replacing a long time ago. Was I be happy with him as a 3rd or 4th or 5th choice centre-back? Yeah, but he shouldn't be anywhere near the start of 11. That's no offence to Jamal Lascelles. He can't play week in, week out. Dan Burn, you boys rightly said, hasn't been glowing at centre-back in recent performances. Hasn't really been glowing at left-back either. And then you've got Fabian Schär, who, I mean, we have a standard joke, don't we, boys, that Fabian Schär's like a walking injury. He gets injured most games. Bless him, he carries on, and he's fully committed to the team. Fabian Schär's not getting any younger, boys. I mean, let's just have a little look at them 3 there. Fabian Schär's, 32? I think Dan Burn is 31, 32.
Right, no, I think it's 33.
Is he 30? Is that right? He's got the shirt number 33.
Yeah, I think he's going to be. He's either going to be 33 or he is 33.
And Jamal Lascelles must be 30. Must be.
Yeah.
So straight away, boys, when you take out our, I think he's 24-year-old Sven Botman, all of a sudden you've got an aging centre back group of an aging group of centre backs there. Yeah. You can't go into a new season with that plus 1. You just can't.
Burn is 31. Because the squad game sheet. Yeah.
I thought he was around there, but either way, Chris, he's in his 30s.
Taking your logic on 2 centre backs, one of those has to be the free signing of
Lloyd Kelly.
Lloyd Kelly, yeah. So there's costs involved there as well. It's not free, but so Lloyd Kelly and another centre back.
Yeah, I think so. So Lloyd Kelly is a left-sided centre-back who can also play left-back, which we discussed on squad games. Lloyd Kelly's a must now for me. Lloyd Kelly is like non-negotiable. We really need him in because he provides that cover on the left-hand at the left-back position, and also he can play that left centre-back position, which is key because we currently don't actually have one unless you're removing Dan Burn from the equation. You could argue, and it depends how many left backs we get rid of. Do we need Lloyd Kelly, a left centre back, and a right centre back? I don't know. Pete, let me throw that one at you. Like, would you be content with Lloyd Kelly and the right centre back, or would you be looking at Lloyd Kelly and the left centre back and a right centre back?
Yeah, if I'm bringing Lloyd Kelly in, I'm bringing him in to play left back. I'm not. He can play centre back and can play well there, but I'm looking at a higher caliber left centre back to come in for me. I am. I think it's a no-brainer. I think we go and get him on a free, pay him what he wants to get him in. I just think we need to shore up that position. New left back. He's athletic. He's big. He's a strong defender. Good in a tackle. Obviously, he's had a few injuries. We need to be mindful of that. Nothing to be concerned about, but they're there. And I'd be going all out to get another centre back for sure. I'd probably, you know what? I'd be getting Lloyd Kelly and maybe another couple of centre backs if you can get one on the cheap. I'd certainly be paying big money for another centre back for one to come in. That is for sure.
Remember there were.
Gone.
Sorry, Pete. Remember we were talking about before in January transfer window, because we don't do our transfer shows till later, close to the window. But we talked about Sporting Lisbon, Ousmane Dembélé, as a potential centre back that we were supposedly scouting, looking at, but there was a lot of people, a lot of clubs looking at him as well, and he would cost big money. And throwing there, there's more that we're looking at. So sorry, Pete. Carry on.
No. It's absolutely fine, because I think you brought us into a position, and I've just there's another player here that was rumored today, who we've talked about before, who can play left centre back. And the reason why I bring him up is because this came out before the Sven Botman news, and it's Murillo from Forest. He's had a really good season at Forest. He's a really good defender. He's not perfect. I think he's 20, 21. So he's still young. He's got room to develop. But he's got really good credentials, good on the board, good in a tackle. He's got pace to recover. Some of his recovery defending this season has been excellent for Forest, who haven't been great and are in a relegation battle. And this for me would be a really good deal to do. And the reason being is because Forest need to sell before June the 30th. And they have to recoup some money with everything that's going on with them. Now, ultimately, I think we'd have all maybe said, right, let's go get Morgan's Gibbs White. And I think that would be an ideal signing, but actually needs must at this point with Sven Botman's situation. You probably prioritize Murillo if that was the case. And he, as we've talked about before on the channel, is a very, very good centre back. Both him and Lloyd Kelly coming in, you've got youth, you've got athleticism, you've got pace, you've got power in the way you play. And as we talked about just a second ago, and Chris, you mentioned it, an aging defence already with Tino Livramento starts to look a little bit more youthful. And then you throw in Lewis Hall as well. You start looking at a more youthful, athletic defensive unit there with a little sprinkle of experience, which isn't a bad thing. But I've got a few more for you boys. And one that we've already talked about already, and it's this man. Jared Branthwaite. And of course, he's got his England call-up. Everton have got their issues financially as well. He is linked with Man United. They have sent scouts to watch him, but so have we. Is he a player that you would go in for? Would he be your big money signing to go, you know what? We need a left-sided centre-back. Let's go get him in, who can also play right-sided. But what are you thinking about going in for him now? Now we're in a needs-must situation, boys. Daz?
Yeah, he's class. I've only started kind of following him closely in the last little while. I think Man United are going to be trying to be all over him for sure. Him and Mikel Olise are the two that I think Man United and Sir Jim, the ones he pays up for Dan Ashworth, will try and go after. So I think he'll definitely tick the box for Eddie Howe. Plays in the Premier League, is English, and is in the England squad now as well, along with Gordon. You see pictures of them on social media as well. So yes, but I think I think we'll be priced out of the market on him somehow.
Yeah.
Unless we go mental. The nuclear button is always there to go mental.
Yeah, this is something I was thinking about today. So when the news broke, I was thinking about options. Naturally, you think about who comes in next. And Alan Thompson's just mentioned this. So I mentioned this to you boys a while ago, and I wasn't sure if it was true or not. But he said that apparently Branthwaite is a Newcastle fan.
I've heard that.
He played for Carlisle, didn't he? Or he grew up there or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know whether it was just I don't know whether it's someone putting 2 and 2 together though, because then I've also heard he's a Man U fan. So I don't know.
When I first heard it mentioned, it was on BT Sport back then, TNT. You know when Trippier scored that goal, that free kick at St James's Park, when we were trying to stay in the Premier League. I think he played in that game. I'm pretty sure he played in that game, and I'm sure someone mentioned it on commentary. They could have been wrong. I think they mentioned that night that he was a Newcastle fan. And
I thought you were going to say, Pete. I thought you were going to say, when that goal went in from Trippier, when he scored that free kick, and then it zooms in on Branthwaite, he's like,
yeah. He's doing the Shearer. He did the Shearer alongside Trippier.
He's like, oh shit, sorry.
No, but I wish he was. But no, I'm pretty sure he played that night, and I'm pretty sure that one of the commentators mentioned that he was a Newcastle
Maybe
fan.
so.
And that's why it stuck with me. It could be wrong, but I'm glad, Alan. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was thinking about that as well. And then you look at his relationship with Anthony Gordon. They've not left each other's side. I don't know if you've been watching the clips and the videos of England.
Yeah,
they've not left each other's side. And could it be Agent Gordon doing his best to sway him up to Tyneside? I don't know. I'm sure we're going to get into all of this come the end of the season.
I hope he does better than Wilson did, Agent Wilson with fucking
Mr. Madison.
Madison matters.
But well, you know what, Daz? I think he did his job. I think he convinced him to come to Newcastle. I'm not blaming Wilson for that. I'm blaming someone that's about to go to Old Trafford, someone that Jim Ratcliffe still needs to pay up for. Pay your money. But yeah. I'm blaming somebody else, not Wilson. I think Wilson Trippier did a fine job, and yes, Darren Eames says himself, pay up, Jim Ratcliffe. You need to, but yeah, I think that would be a really, really good option, and someone that if we acted quick enough with, and you know what, I don't know if you agree, boys, this needs to be actioned early June. We need to be actioning this type of deal straight away, because that's going to be the time to strike. You cannot wait any length of time for a player like that if, for example, Man United are interested or any others, because the longer you wait, the easier it's going to be for those teams to sweep up a player. If you go in with a bid, boom, we want you, let's get it done now, that could be the best thing for us, is that we act quickly on this. And you've got a 21-year-old left-sided centre-back who can play right-sided centre-back. He's got the future ahead of him, who's a damn good defender. And so that could be another option there. Another option is the Sporting Lisbon best friend of the player you mentioned, Diamande. We've got the other centre-back, Goncalo Iniesta. Left-sided centre-back, can play left-sided centre-back, can also play right-sided centre-back as well. We've been linked with him as well as Diamande. This could also be an option as well. Sporting has been having a good season again, always up there challenging at the top of their league in Portugal. What do we think, boys? Is that again someone that you'd want to pay your money for to get someone like him in?
We've been talking about him for a long time now, right? I don't know, but Peter, who are they looking at Sporting? They have their eye on at least one, if not two. So it's hard to tell.
Chris, I'll come to you on another one, and this was mentioned in the chat. Actually, I thought it was an interesting option. And it's another England centre back, and it's Tomori. He's a right, he's right-footed. Yeah, that's it. Mad Mark, great to see you actually. Not seen you in the chat for a while, but great stuff. For Ko Tomori, why Chelsea to let rid of him, I've got no idea. But he's doing well at AC Milan. But he just always misses out on the England squad, and I've never understood why. And I don't know whether it's because he's playing in Italy, because he always seems to play well. He played well against us at St James's Park. I actually thought he had a really good game when we played him in the Champions League. But again, another option there, can play left centre back. He's right-footed, so preferably right-sided centre back. But he's got electric pace, really good, strong defender. Again, I think he's is he 24? I think he might be 24. I'll have to have a check. I'm not quite sure. Oh, no, sorry, 26. 26. So still a good age. Still a good age, not a bad age. But again, there's another option there. And they're just a few names that I've just thrown out, just off the top of my head, off the back of this news. So I'm sure over the next weeks, the next month or two, there's going to be a lot of names thrown out that's who's going to be Sven Botman's successor. But there's a few players there that if you really wanted to, and you wanted to put your money down to get those players in, you could do it. I don't know what you think, boys.
I'm just going to rob this chat one sec, Daz, because I've just noticed a comment from Richard Fried. And Pete, I'm sure this is going to make you smile when you see it. He wants your man. He wants your man.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about left-sided centre backs or players that can play left-sided, but hey,
we do need the right-siders.
I'm for it. I'm all for it. If you can get Murillo for about 30 million, and you can go and get Todibo for 35, you could spend 60-65 million on two quality centre backs that you got your future there sorted. I'm there. I'm there. Because I still think he's not a lot of people are talking about him at the moment. He was odds on to go to Man United. It never happened. I still think he's quality. And I think he would be perfect for this Newcastle United team. I just do. I think for the type of football we play, and for the type of centre back that we need, I think he's perfect. Is he as good on the ball as Fabian Schär or Sven Botman? Probably not. He's good. He's more than efficient on the ball, but he's a big, strong defender. He's lightning quick, good in recoveries, and I just think that's what we've really been lacking. And it's about finding the right balance for me in terms of being good on the ball and being progressive, but also being good in your recoveries as well. Because if we're going to play a high line next season, like we've tried to this season and been caught out, we need pace to get back in. You look at Man City, for example, they are so good because they've got someone like Kyle Walker, who's lightning quick to get back in. Akanji's quick in himself. Stones, he's always quick. Ake, they're all quick to get back in and recover. You look at Liverpool, Van Dijk, Trent, or Robertson, all quick at getting in. Great at getting in to recover themselves.
Kanate, he's that quick as well.
Yeah, exactly. And again with Saliba and Gabriel at Arsenal, they've got recovery there, so they can cover themselves if they need to. And I think that's where we really lack in that. I don't think, even Tottenham got Van der Ven and Doggy. Like they've got recovery in pace. Pedro Porro, not great defender, but rapid, fast. Yeah, every team that plays that high line football have got that, and we haven't. We need to secure that next season.
It's really interesting you saying that point now. Actually, Pete, I know we've just gone through like four of the top six, and we're naming the players and stuff like that, and saying how quick they are. But it is true, isn't it? And when you look across our back four, I'm not going to include Tino or Hall, because Tino and Hall aren't regular starters at this moment in time, but you can see where we're going with the pace.
Yeah.
You look at Trippier, you look at Botman, you look at Shah, you look at Burn, and all of a sudden you're going, actually, there's not a lot of pace there, is there, at all? I'm not saying Botman's slow, but he's not quick. He's not a player that you associate with having, raw pace. Obviously, Dan Burn, we know, hasn't. Kieran Trippier, maybe back in the day, but I wouldn't say he's that quick now. And Fabian Schär, exactly the same. So already you can see that's the issue. That's the problem, isn't it? And obviously when you're playing the midfield three, who aren't necessarily, I'd say the midfield three is really unbalanced at the moment. So couple that in with a slow defence, you've got an unbalanced midfield three, because you could argue you've got Sean Longstaff and a Louis Miley who play very, very similar. Pete, you posted the video today of Tonali. I've replied to it. I've seen it on Twitter. Mate, that I forgot how good that Villa performance was. I think it was a 3.5-minute video. If anybody hasn't watched it, go onto Pete's Twitter on X and watch the highlights caption of Tonali against Villa, and you see what this midfield's missing. And by the way, you see little snippets of Joe Linton as well. You've got Tonali, Joe Linton, and then Bruno sitting. Yeah. Unbelievable.
The transition between Gordon cutting inside off the left, Joe Linton coming on the left as a left winger in transition, Sandro just picking up little pockets of space, spraying the ball. But you know what I loved about it? There was at least 3 or 4 clips of his recovery runs getting in. There's one quite early on where he floors Douglas Luiz.
Yeah, just bang on.
He just takes him out, and it's just to let him know that he's there. Yeah. And it almost kind of shakes him up. And he's got that little bit of bite, that nastiness. And what you saw in that clip, and what I saw in that clip, is at Sandro Tonali before the betting stuff came out. And I think he was probably aware of it coming out beforehand, which maybe then affected his performances afterwards. You saw a fully fresh-minded Sandro Tonali. And someone put it in one of the comments that I saw afterwards, actually. So I give that guy credit for that. But you see a freshly focused Sandro Tonali there. I'm so excited for him coming back. Yeah. But I have my hands on my head because I could not believe I missed this guy out. And Toon Gamer has brought him up.
There's been a few people have mentioned Atalanta.
Oh my God.
Have we spoken about him before? Have we spoken about Scalvini before?
He's a big football manager name as well. So he just get talked about a bit. Yeah.
Have to. If you're going for someone like that, I think he's like 19, 20 years old.
Is he left or right sided, Pete?
Left sided centre back.
Left sided centre back. Oh well.
Honest, I would take that all day.
We are. Toon Gamer says this as well, and we were talking about him, Pete.
He's linked to PSG. Yeah,
Lenny
Yaro.
Yeah.
He's been talking about PSG circles now.
Yeah.
We got when we got Zach on the chat. We got Zach in for the show, didn't we? And we were talking about Lenny Yaro. He certainly, there's big eyes on him, and as you say, Daz, if PSG are looking at him, we could struggle, and that kind of goes back to what we were saying about Branthwaite. I didn't really pass comment on that, but I kind of feel like Branthwaite's been and gone. I think there's too many people watching him. I think we'd struggle unless he's a Newcastle fan, like Alan Thompson and Pete says. If that is the case, maybe there's an opportunity. Obviously, he's good friends with Anthony Gordon as well. Maybe we could sell a project to him. But I feel like Pete mentioned before, about going in for like Murillo, getting someone like Murillo in, that would be ideal. Someone who we know can do it in the Prem, but isn't on the radar of everybody. He isn't like the name that everybody will be wanting to go for. Not to mention, as Pete mentioned before, about the whole needing to balance the books before the end of June. Forest at prime time. And if you go in and go, a bit like you were saying about Morgan Gibbs-White, Pete, and that he's maybe the one that the club really wants, but you go in and you take the opportunity to get Murillo in first because everyone's got all eyes on Morgan Gibbs-White and maybe not on Murillo. And if you can swoop in, you're right, you could easily get him, I reckon, for 25, 30 million, because they didn't pay anywhere near that for him. And that's a massive chunk off their FFP worries if he was to sign.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, there's so many other names. Mark Gay. I don't know how much it would take to get him out of Palace, but he's a good
Don't
centre-back.
ask D. D reckon 60 odd mil, didn't he?
Yeah, it'll probably be 90 to 100 now.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Van der Berg. I've seen a little bit of him. Not enough to give an opinion. Hato from Ajax. He's really young. I think he's like 17. I think Arsenal are desperate to get him, but he's just signed a new deal, if I'm right in thinking. There's so many, and like I say, these are just a few players that we're throwing out. And I think just before, because I think we're going to come to some questions, Jana made a good point. But no offense, guys, if we're recruiting players that you guys are suggesting, why are we paying a fortune to scout upcoming gems? And I think I think it's a fair point. The gems won't be in positions. It might not necessarily be in a centre-back position, because the reason why we're talking about centre-backs tonight is because our main centre-back is going to be out for 9 months. So they are going to go and invest in a replacement. Getting a young gem to replace and a very experienced Sven Botman isn't going to kind of do it. You know, Murillo is young, but he's got Premier League experience. Branthwaite exactly the same. And some of these other players have got high-level European experience. So they're coming in with the ability to take on the responsibility of being that centre-back. Getting a young gem, for example. Like to be fair, who's to say that we get one main centre-back, and we talked about it in squad game that we upgrade Alex Murphy, and someone put it in the chat as well, and he comes in and becomes that sort of fourth option for next season. We say, right, you're not going to go on loan, you come in there, and that's your gem, because we'd already got him in before. But it could be
Henderson is another. But then just linking back to Jonas' comment, the gems, and that we've talked about plenty of them in our fully loaded transfer shows in the past, South American talent in particular, and then they get snapped up by Chelsea. And there's a bit more there as well. So you can't win. You have to get them before they're even on anyone's radar, and that's the tricky bit.
Yeah, there was an Argentinian, I think, centre-back that Foxy put in the chat earlier on, who I wasn't aware of. But again, another one there that will probably be ruining the day that Foxy mentioned him, because I'm pretty sure that Chelsea scouts watch this channel. I'm joking. But, no doubt we'll see tomorrow that there's a bid from Chelsea for that particular centre-back. It's normally the case. But that's
just... Sorry, Pete, I was going to add, just to add into what Foxy said there, and I totally agree, it is a really valid point. I think for me, I think we need to sign players for the here and now. For example, look at what we did with Yankuba Minteh. He's clearly one for the future. Maybe next season, who knows? But we got him in for like 7 million. We then loaned him out. I think the upcoming transfer windows, there's going to be players for right now, not to use an Ashley expression, but you remember we had our purple players and we had our green players and we had our yellow players. I think we're going to go out and get 2 or 3 purples who are just guaranteed first team, bang, straight in. And then I think we're also going to, I'm going to use the word because I love it, improve that underbelly, where we go, right, okay, well, he's going. So why don't we bring in that 19-year-old? All right, we'll take a punt on him. And this is what Chelsea, Man United, and all other clubs like that have been doing over the years. You buy a player, a young player, like Minteh, for example. You buy him for 7 million. He doesn't work out in the next 2 years, say. You're going to at least get your money back, if not more, because people go, oh, he plays for Newcastle, he's brilliant. You know, look at Liverpool with selling the likes of Ryan Brewster, if you remember him, who ended up at Sheffield United. You look at Dominic Solanke, who ended up at Bournemouth. Now, he's turned his career around, to be fair, but everyone was laughing their heads off when Eddie Howe paid 20 million for him to go to Bournemouth. Bournemouth ended up buying Jordan Ibe as well from Liverpool, 15 million. These are all players that Liverpool brought in, minimal fees. Same argument with Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott, for me, I'm still not convinced he's a Liverpool player. He comes in, does a job, and he, on occasion there's little flashes, but is he week in, week out? You know, if Szoboszlai got injured, are they going to put him in, week out? I very much doubt it. Bet you, if someone wanted to, if Crystal Palace or Wolves or somebody wanted to buy Harvey Elliott, it's minimum 20 million. Minimum. Yeah. They bought him for 3 million, I think, from Derby. Yeah, that's what I mean. So they turned him over, and he's not going to make it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So Liverpool are, blooding them in. They're basically giving them an opportunity. And I'm not saying that Harvey Elliott's rubbish by any stretch. You know, he's obviously a really good standard player. But is he a Champions League? Is he a Champions League player? Is he a league title player? I don't think so. They could do exactly the same with Bobby Clark. Exactly the same. And I'm not saying Bobby Clark's not able or not capable, but again, is he going to be that level in 2 or 3 years' time? Are Liverpool going to move him on and go, yep, 25 mil, thanks very much? You got him off. I think you got him off us. Was it a 1.5 million?
Yeah, that's the game. We're going to have to start doing that as well.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to be going for these young players, Daz. And there'll be the purple ones, or the first teamers, and then there's going to be loads of little players that we bring in, and some will make the grade, and some won't. Hey, our next one could be Alfie Addison. We don't know what he's like. If Alfie Addison doesn't make the grade, we bought him for 7 million potential. I think it rises to 7 or 9 million or whatever it is. If we sell him on, we'll get 10, 15 million for him. No bother.
So shout out to Derek Lambias and his purple players. Remember, that's really getting that link back in. Not really. Not a shout out, really. Sorry, Pete, did you want to say something?
No, Sanusi, the young 17-year-old.
Washing machine.
Yeah, no. We got him. I can't remember who we got him from. But he's come in and been absolutely outstanding. He's in the under-21s at the moment, and he's still playing well in there. He's only 16 years old. For me, I was going to mention him in squad gamers and add him to the first team squad for the pre-season, because I would love Eddie Howe to have a look at him in pre-season, because the way he manipulates defenders is fantastic. And I've only seen clips, because I've only seen just the little clips that you see on socials, but he looks a real talented player. And then there's I didn't realize the rumors of Chris is it Rigg from Sunderland. Apparently he can go on a free and a nominal fee from Sunderland. Newcastle want him, and I saw a report yesterday that apparently Bobby Clark has said it would be his dream to play for Newcastle United.
It was Lee who said it. Lee said he'd love to see. Yeah, Lee said he'd love to see him play. But I mean, if your dad's saying that,
he'd want to come back.
Want to play.
He'd want to come back. Definitely.
He also probably want to be his own player as well. So I don't know. I think now he's moved off. I don't think he comes back. Not unless it doesn't work out, and then
who's to say it will work out when Klopp goes?
I had just one more. Sorry, I know I keep going off on a tangent here. I was watching the Geordie Journos the other night. Geordie Journos, if you haven't followed them already, make sure you do. Pretty decent at footy as well, the Geordie Journos, which we'll find out a week on Friday. Give the lads a follow. Top lads. And I think it was Liam and Dom who went to watch the under-21 game, and Liam said he was particularly interested in Alfie Addison. But who they spoke about, which I completely forgot, was they mentioned about Kafel Heffernan, who we signed from AC Milan, left-sided centre-back. So he's another one, who knows whether he'll get promoted through the through the ranks. You never know. We might see him this season. Who knows? But he's one up for consideration as well. So when you were mentioning Sanusi piece, he could be another one as well who might push his way through. Could be the new Kel Watts. Who knows?
Say his name again, Chris.
Kafel. Kafel Heffernan.
Thanks.
But how do you say it?
It's Kafel Heffernan.
Oh, Kafel. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'd say Kafel.
It's one of those Irish names.
Sounds like you say Cattle Heffernan.
Yeah, I'll just stick with Heffernan.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently he had a really good game against Sunderland under-21s. I think we won 3-2. Not rubbing it in, just pointing it out.
Let's take some of these questions from the chat then, lads. Shout out to David Knight and his donation to the channel as well. We've been gaslighted about a lot this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Right. Let's go over to one link to the injuries. Alan Thompson says, "Why is Longstaff playing with an injection every week and playing rubbish? What's going on?" And also linked to injuries, Jimmy says, and apparently Pope has had a knockback. That's the more great news. I know it's pushed out to the end of April, right? Pope.
I think that was the knockback, Naz. I think that was the knockback. I think they wanted him back. And I think they expected him back by the end of this month. But I think the knockback is now. It's probably going to be the end of April.
What can you do? We are.
With Longstaff, Lewis Miley.
Yeah.
Elliot Anderson. You've now got options to play if he's injured and he's not 100%. So
let's ask the man. Because Stu Amos goes, "Don't shoot me. Genuine question. Should there be questions asked of Eddie with regards to the intensity of the training?" And FMOGB says, "Where does the duty of care reside, Eddie Howe?" So kind of question marks on Eddie Howe in all this injury nightmare scenario as well.
He has to take some responsibility. He's the manager. He selects the players. But as well as that, he's guided by his physio team. He's guided by the medical staff. So, and the doctors that are.
So Ches says as well.
It's true. Like he does pick the team and he does select the players, and he does need to take a little bit of responsibility there. But it's the medical team that have to make the decisions on whether they think the player's fit to play or not. Now, if Eddie Howe is picking these players despite medical advice not to play them, that's a different conversation. We're having a different conversation there because, you know, Eddie Howe is then going against medical advice. But I don't believe, and there's been no reports to suggest that that's been the case. So you've then got to push it then back and bounce it back to the medical team. Why are they playing these players, continuing to play them with injuries? You know, why was Sven Botman, who apparently got injured playing against Brentford at home, then allowed to play the next couple of games with a potential ACL tear? Like, it's madness, absolute madness. I don't know.
Also, shout out to Danielle. She says, "Long time no speak, lads." Oh, that's Danielle. Thanks for the great content. Keep up the great work.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Danielle.
Danielle.
Lovely seeing you.
Hope the cat is doing well as well, Danielle.
Is Danielle based in Newcastle? She is based in Newcastle, isn't she?
I think so. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think we saw her the last time we were on.
Yeah,
we met her at the Forest game, I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, we're back in Newcastle a week on Friday, Danielle, so keep a lookout for us.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me see. Where are we going next? Back to Piff. Piff must be fuming. Yeah. Will there be that kind of overall root and branch investigation into everything in the season? I'm sure there has to be something. And is it a case of it being a blip and let's go all into next season and roll the dice again, or will there be some changes made somewhere along the way? We'll find out. And Pete, I think you mentioned before it was in relation to Eddie Howe. Let's say we still have a disaster of the next 10 games that we have left, and there's a short. If there were to consider Eddie Howe's position, there's only a short window that really that would make sense to do something about it, and that's early June.
Yeah.
So if it goes past that, forget it. Eddie Howe is definitely there.
Yeah, I think there might be like a week or so after the season of May, and then you've got the month of June. Literally, because everyone tends to stop at pre-season kind of like the 1st of July and kick back into gear. So for me, that's the window. You've got like a 5-6 week window where which is where you change your manager. And for the points that we made tonight and we've made on previous shows where we think Newcastle United are going to have to act within that month in terms of signing a player or two, you're probably going to have to act even quicker, because the manager that's coming in is going to need to know or sign off on signing one or two of these players. Because if a new manager does come in, they're going to want to know that they're able to work with them and they're the player that they want. So, yeah, it's a big decision to be made. I still think he'll stay at the club. I'll be here next season, but it's not our choice.
The way it is now, Everton is going through Eddie Howe because Dan Ashford's out of the picture, and like our new sporting director isn't in place yet. So you remove Eddie Howe from the picture, I don't know what you do then. Yeah. Doesn't make any sense to do something at that stage. I want to go to this one from Jordy Tune for Life. He says, all this is doing is harming the Premier League brand because teams can't spend what they want by getting the top players, and Spain, Italy will be loving this as the Premier League is getting weaker. Good point. It is like you saw in the January transfer window, which was a washout. One of the great selling points of the Premier League is that action in the transfer window as well, and nothing happened in January really. So and yeah, it is getting weaker unless they do something about it, and we still don't know officially what those rules going into this summer are going to be.
Yeah, we're used to Premier League taking the best players from Europe, but because we've got no money to spend, these European teams are keeping hold of their players, and it's making them play better. This is the reason why Germany and Italy were first and second in the coefficient, and this is why there's still question marks whether England will get the 5th place for the Champions League, because these other teams in other countries are doing well. Roma knocking out Brighton in the Europa League hasn't helped. AC Milan effectively knocking us out the Champions League hasn't helped. It's strengthened their position. And the longer these Italian teams stay in, the better it is. I do think we'll get the 5th position in the end, because I fully expect Villa to win the Conference League. I fully expect Liverpool to win the Europa League. And I expect Man City to at least get to the final. And so that holds a little bit of hope for us, that if you've got 3 English teams fighting at the top end of all 3 European competitions, it's enough to get us to that 5th place. And that then opens up 8th place, potentially, if a top 6 teams wins the FA Cup, which I would hope now that Man City go on and win it. Or even Man United, who I think that are guaranteed, but I don't want them to win it. I'd rather Man City go and win it. That opens up 8th place for Europa Conference, which gives us even more hope that there's a potential that if we put enough runs together of form, that we can still get that position. So we're all living in hope here, but there's still an opportunity for us to get that.
It's a massive opportunity, because I think the 2 nations that we're in direct competition with for that 5th Champions League spot is Germany and Italy.
Yeah.
So thinking of the Champions League, it would have to be what, Bayern and which Italian clubs still left in the Champions League? Are AC Milan still going?
No, it's PSG, and
they went to the Europa.
Inter Milan got knocked out by Atletico.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? As soon as you're out of the cup competition, you're like, fuck it. If you'd have asked me that,
you're right out with the FA Cup,
October, I don't know. But yeah, no, I'm just like, I'm just not interested. But yeah, so one of those clubs, the top clubs in those particular nations would have to do really well, and like Bayern are all over the place under Tuchel at the moment, and the Italian clubs are neither here nor there. So as you say, Pete, Brighton, Liverpool, Man City, opportunities there for England to have a full clean sweep, and then in which case that will guarantee the 5th Champions League, then I'd say.
Yeah.
Right, there's one here from Danielle as well, back and says, she's Newcastle based, lads. You will thrash in FTV 3-0. Pete with the hat trick, no bother. No, Pete, from goal.
I don't know about me. I think I'll be further to the back of the team for this game. I think it might be a a Davy Hall centre back partnership. We might have to recreate the Shaw and Botman esque stuff, and then depending on that, I might need to pull out my inner Shaka Hislop. And dust off the old gloves again, but we'll see. I'll keep you to that 3-0 win though. That'll be the aim, is to keep them out, keep the low block, hit them on the counter. We've got the boys in the counter. If we've got the Davy,
hang on,
Davy Hall.
Let's stop again.
Oh my God!
I'm stopping you, Pete. Low block. I remember the first. You weren't there, Chris. You were still on your train at this stage. I remember the first 5 minutes. I played the first 10 minutes and then went off. But and they came back on again. But the first 5 minutes of the game, everyone was the other end of the pitch except me and Richie in goal. And I was there mopping up. I was prime. I know because Keith's role was, we called him the prime Baresi role. I don't know what I was then, but everyone just fecked off. The glory hunters.
It reminds me, mate. It reminds me of my weekly five-a-side. So, like when I was a kid, I started as a right winger. Then I went to a striker. Then I went to a central midfielder, and then like I was more like a number 6. Playing in like 11-a-side. Now, in our five-a-side, because I play with lads who are younger than me, they're like early, mid-20s, I'm always the sensible one. So, Pete, you'll notice when we played last year, I know we only played for a little bit together, like, I naturally sit back because the lads who I play with just all bomb forwards. And normally, I'm a striker. I normally play striker. I gradually moved back because I lost my legs and I wasn't as quick. But I now have to sit back, so I'm designed to sit back because all the other boys are, much fitter, much quicker than me. So I try and play the Fabian Schär role. You know what I mean? Little ping balls. That's what I'm doing now. Whether I'll do the same next Friday, mate, I don't know. I might just turn into a lunatic and just start running everywhere. I don't know, but I like to try and hold the line, and I want to keep them out, Pete. I want to keep them out.
And that's the sole plan. So like I've genuinely the last time I kicked a ball and played a proper match was in April last year when we played the last charity match. So this is going to be fun for me. However, what fills me with hope is that last 10 minutes of the game, it was kind of me and you at the back. And it allowed everyone to get forward because we knew we had 2 people at the back. But if we go for a Davy Hall and Daz partnership,
just have the mind games, just have them. Let the boys go forward. I mean, I might venture forward if someone comes in and replaces me a centre back, just have a little go, like, because I do love playing up front. But it's key to keep them out. If we can keep them out, we're winning that game. Simple as.
I guarantee. Low block goes out the window with the kickoff.
I am disciplined. I am disciplined.
The loaded 3 discipline. The loaded 3 discipline. If we get the ball and we want to bring out the inner Shaw and go off on a run. 2 of us. You know what? We're not talking about this.
And we can talk. One of us will go. As long as the other one stays, we're all right. We keep that talking going. And if I go, Pete, I'm off, mate. Pete's there, settling. Daz, same with you. You know what I mean? If one of us goes and you might go, Chris, I'm going on the run. I'll be like, sound, I'm staying here. I'm making sure. Do you know what? Just imagine if we kept them out the whole game. Just imagine that happens.
Danielle, see, this is what you started. Let's get back. One more question for the chat. We'll finish it. I'll go with 2 because I want to go to this from Tom first because he goes, what do you think of playing games in Australia? Interesting that it's at the end of the season and you imagine players are dying to go on their break, but again, it's for building. It must be great actually for Newcastle fans in Australia. They'll get to see. They're coming to Ireland. I'll be all over it as well. But yeah. Tough on the players, though. A selling point to them at the end of the season. What do you think that's?
Money spinner. That's all it is. If it brings more money in the coffers, I'm in. and the season's over anyway at that point. So
Yeah.
I can't see Eddie Howe openly wanting to sign this off. He doesn't like traveling far anyway. He doesn't like traveling far for his pre-seasons. I think he almost bemoaned to a point the trip to America and how much travel was involved and how it affected their pre-season on the back of that. He said it was a good trip, they enjoyed it, but it was a lot. So for me, the only reason I think they've signed this off is because I think the owners have gone, well, we're getting the money. But not just that, like you said, Daz, is the exposure. We know because we've got so many from Australia that watch our channel. And a lot of Newcastle fans that are down under. So I think that it's a great area to kind of tap into in terms of that resource. And Spurs have already done it, because I think Spurs went there pre-season. I think they played a game there in pre-season over there. So they've already kind of started that, and I think they'll try and do that again. And try and build into that, because I think we played a number of years ago now. We played in Australia. We had one game there, I think. I'm going back years now, but it's an area that we haven't gone to very often. So I think it'll be to drum up more interest for sure.
Yeah.
Was it Perth or Melbourne? When you said that, it made me think.
This time's Melbourne, isn't it?
It is. This time it's Melbourne, yeah.
Maybe Perth.
I don't know what it was last time.
It definitely wasn't in the last 10 years, Perth, anyway, that's for sure. Know that for a fact. Because my brother lives in Perth, so I would have considered.
I think it was it must have been around the time of Stephen Taylor. It must have been around that era. I remember waking up at like 2 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning, I think it was, to watch the game. It was on some random channel. Was it on like Quest or something? I think it might have been on like Quest channel. I don't know. I'm rambling on, but yeah.
And link to this one. So you talk about Eddie Howe signing off on that one. So Yano has a good question here as well. Didn't Eddie recruit the Bournemouth medical team? There's a danger giving one man too much power. Example: Rafa Benitez. Get a director of football or sporting director in as soon as possible.
I think it's definitely a risk, a worry, I agree. When you've not got that structure in place, and there is an element of risk. And let's not forget, like we mentioned before, about there being a bit of an autopsy at the end of the season, and we also asked ourselves, is the responsibility on Eddie? I think a portion of it will be on Eddie. Thinking of it from like a management structure, as I wouldn't say my work. If you think of it in a management structure, the top brass are going to go to the manager and go, "What's going on, mate?" And let's not forget, at most football clubs, it's up to the manager to recruit the backroom staff. Who's to say, that Eddie, the last medical staff member that we recruited, Eddie Howe may have recruited him. Was it Dan Ashworth who recruited him? You just don't know. There could be all these different factors, but ultimately, if that is within Eddie's remit and it is his job to do that, Eddie Howe could turn around and go, "Yeah, it's been a fiasco, it's been a disaster," and they're going to go, "You're the manager, mate. So what are you going to do about it?" Or can you explain it? Or how did you come to this conclusion, etc., etc. And this is the risky thing, because then is the trust starting to wane? Is the judgment starting to wane? And that's the problem. Now, this is all speculation. No one really knows who hired them. I know everyone, has a tendency of throwing in Dan Ashworth's name if something's gone bad. People maybe want to blame Eddie. People, maybe it's neither of their fault. Maybe it was PIF. Who knows? But ultimately, questions need to be asked, and there needs to be a proper investigation done. And I tell you what, whoever is behind this, or whoever's kind of made those decisions or not made the decisions to replace and change when there's been maybe early indications or signs that things aren't going well, it may not end very well for them at the end of the season, because clearly there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Right. That's it for the questions. Let's leave it at that on the questions. Just thanks for everyone for tuning in. Just want to let you know what's happening now on Sunday night. Actually, move to Sunday night. This one, Pete, tell us more about this, because this is a panel show you're not going to want to miss.
Definitely. The fight for Europe is back now. How much fight we've got for Europe, I don't know, but there's certainly other clubs that are going to be fighting for it. And we've got a panel of guests coming back to talk about all things Europe. And the reason why we changed it, one or two are not well at the moment. So best wishes to Dan United. He's been in hospital. He's not been very well. Thankfully, though, he's out of hospital today. I did have a chat with him. So there is positivity there. And little Dan Wolves, who will be joining us as well. He's been under the weather the last few days. So yeah, best wishes to those guys. But they've both said they're bang up for Sunday. They're going to be in. Adam's going to be joining us, the Brighton fan. Don's going to be back. We're talking all things Chelsea. That should be interesting. And yeah, it should be a good chat. We'll try and see if we can sneak Lawless in. He is on holiday at the moment. We'll see if we can find an hour free somewhere for him to come in and gloat as he normally does. But no, it should be a good chat, and everyone's in a different position. So I think there's going to be a little bit of heat there, that's for sure, because Europe, for so many teams in that little group of clubs, is crucial for their club and their future. So can't wait. It's going to be a good chat as always. Looking forward to it.
Nice one. Also, just shout out to our sponsors, the radiatorshed.com, Russ and his radiators. Big thanks to Russ. And we just flashed through the old pictures, new ones on the way. Looking forward to catching up with Russ also when we're in Newcastle in just over a week's time. Also, the Installworks, Russ's other company, and H2O Bathroom Design Co. And the fabulous bathrooms that the guys have on offer there. Check out the website with the latest and greatest. Also, just a reminder, I think I have the link in the description as well. I should have. I put this together really quick, so I hope I do. But yeah, link to the charity game if you want to donate towards the charity game, where we're taking on Newcastle Fans TV, the second for the second time, the rematch. So yeah, looking forward to that as well on the 29th of March. And the charity we've chosen this time is the Alan Shearer Foundation. So every little helps in that one. That is it, lads. Just a reminder as well, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, on the socials, Twitter, X, TikTok, and Insta. And you can reach us on the email address loadedmaginfo@gmail.com. That is it.
Definitely. We'll just say that because we've got a massive following on X, and you guys are amazing on there. Just come and follow us on some of the other socials. Instagram, we're always putting stuff out on Instagram as well TikTok. Come and have a look at what we're doing there, because sometimes we put stuff out on Instagram and other social sites that we might not always put out on Twitter, so you can get to see a little bit of something else on those socials as well. And nice to see some new people in the chat as well. One or two new people in the chat, subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. Lots of really good subscribers coming in and joining the chat and getting involved. And of course, on the button, thank you very much as always for tuning in, people. Yeah, Chris's button.
I love that.
No, thank you for tuning in, people. Quality.
Right. See you in the next one, which, unless there's some other breaking news somewhere, will be Sunday. You never know, though. This is Newcastle United. Anything can happen. Good night, everyone. How'd you like that?